Here's my New Year's resolution, some of my goals, as well as the direction that I want to take in 2024. Number one, and most importantly, is to make my 2025 January 1st self proud of my efforts and what I have done. That is the most important thing, because if I do that, then I know I have done my best and I achieved many of my goals. And if I haven't, then there was a good reason. Number two is I want to start doing some Tesla related interviews on my YouTube channel. So I like to bring some of the people that talk a lot about Tesla stock, bring them on, have their perspective here on the channel, ask them lots of questions, and bring a lot of entertainment, but also value to all of you guys. Number three, and this is incredibly important, laugh a lot. Specifically at Tesla bears, people like Gordon Johnson. Number four, keep buying Tesla stock, especially when it goes down. That was a very good decision last year to keep buying and to keep buying throughout January of this year. You want to keep buying Tesla stock, especially when it is down. Right now, Tesla stock is more than twice this amount. This is just a screenshot from about a year ago. Number five, if I am not working a lot and if I am wasting my potential and I'm not contributing positively to our human species, I feel like a loser and I don't want to be a loser. So number five is to not be a loser, basically meaning work pretty much every single day, rest when sleeping, not when awake, be a professional, don't waste time, and outwork mostly everyone. Patrick Bet-David always says how if you want to be wildly successful, you need to, number one, outwork everyone, then out-improve, out-strategize, and finally, outlast. I think for me, out-improving and out-strategizing is a bit easier than outworking, so that's where I focus the most. Even though I work 7 days a week, it's not exactly easy to do that. It's actually pretty difficult. Some of the time, well, at this point though, I am so used to it that it doesn't feel difficult anymore. It just feels normal. And dare I say now, actually easy. A good way to think about it is, think about lifting weights. If you ever did that, at first the weight seems really heavy and then you train a little bit and then that same weight later feels easy. I feel exactly the same way here. But then eventually you get to a point where almost no matter how hard you try, it still feels difficult and you're not really necessarily are able to pick up more weight. So once you reach roughly 7 days per week in terms of work, you can't really work more. It still takes some effort to maintain that, but at this point, I think for me, it's not necessarily difficult, and to some degree, certainly even easy. I just need to maintain that. And the most important thing here is to not stop doing it, because if you stop, then getting back is indeed quite difficult. I remember the first time I did $100,000 in a month, regularly, consistently, basically. My biggest conclusion from that was, once you have things going, just don't stop, just keep going, just never stop. And my personal deep conviction for myself, I'm not necessarily saying that's true for everyone, but certainly for myself, is to retire is to expire. So I never want to retire. I think for many people, it's okay to retire. I don't have a problem with that. But for me, retiring is definitely not an option. So I'm going to be working till the day I die, and I want to outwork mostly everyone. I really like doing that. Now, in terms of goals for this channel specifically, currently it's almost at 30,000 subscribers. I would love to see 50,000 subscribers next year. In an ideal case scenario, 100,000 would be absolutely incredible. I'm not saying I'm expecting that, but if I get there, that would be wow. I did not expect that. But 50,000 is sort of what I'm going for. And personally, actually, I'm not all that focused on specific numbers. What I am focused on a lot is building the skills and doing the things necessary that would get me to the next level, and that would make it almost inevitable for me to improve overall, which then result in all of these other good things happening. So for example, that's why instead of focusing on, let's say, a huge number for this channel, I'm just focusing on, okay, I want to work pretty much every single day. That's my main focus. So I have long-term goals that are relatively specific, but medium-term goals, I am fairly flexible with these. But what I am not flexible with is my effort, how much I'm improving myself, how much I'm working on myself, how much I am trying to reinvent myself, how much I'm going to work next week. These things are in my direct control. So in the short term, I am very focused on maximizing my effort. I want to get the clips channel going. So basically taking the big daily news video and then cutting that into multiple different pieces of content, different clips. And maybe I'll put some of these clips on Twitter as well. So follow me on Twitter /X. I should really start saying X, right? It's been a long time. Next is to finish delegating pretty much 99% of the tasks in my healthcare business. Actually, today I was in a call handling a problem which I don't think I would need to personally handle, so I made a system today so that if that thing happens again, I don't need to be involved. Think of ways to reinvent myself. Always think about this, especially if progress slows down. When I look at myself 10 years ago, yeah, I have changed quite a bit. I reinvented myself multiple times actually to some degree. And 5 years from now, 10 years from now, I want to look back at myself and mostly not really recognize myself in terms of, oh, I really sucked. I was really bad at so many different things. Now I'm decent. And then do the same thing 10 years after that, and then 10 years after that, and then 10 years after that. I want to significantly improve my accent. I'm going to practice with a one-on-one, with a coach one-on-one. I also want to improve my English overall, become more articulate, learn more words as well. I also want to, I generally pay attention to things, but right now, because I'm working so much, I have run out of more hours during the day. I cannot just work more hours. Although someone called me, I made a joke in one of the previous videos that when someone calls me lazy, that gives me more motivation to work harder. So someone did actually call me lazy in the comments. So I said, I'm going to invent another day in the week so I can say that I now work 8 days per week instead of just 7. But realistically, that's not actually possible. So one day to be more productive is simply to pay more attention when I'm working, so work faster. If I'm filming, for example, when I'm shooting something, say the thing right the first time I'm shooting it. And that requires to seriously focus and pay attention. Or if I'm sometimes earlier, I used to, let's say, I am eating something and something's playing in the background, maybe news or something like that, and I'm not really paying attention. I'm just sort of relaxing, but I'm eating and I'm just relaxing for a few minutes. I want to pay attention, remember what's happening so that later if I want to bring that up, I remember, oh yeah, what the news was, and then maybe later I can bring that up somehow in conversations that matter and use that somehow. Or when I see a stat, try to actually remember, not just look at it, but actually focus on it and then remember so I can use it later without having to look it up and spend 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes just looking for that. Oh, what was that thing that I saw earlier? I don't remember exactly. I want to save time doing things like that. I want to do a lot more regular Patreon videos. And one more thing that I need to add in here is improve my resilience. So adding perhaps things like, I have a sauna at the house actually, but I don't really use it much. So maybe add things like using the sauna after I work out. Maybe sometimes having cold showers, just becoming more resilient so that I pretty much never get sick. Do things to improve my immune system, things like that. Adding these extra things slow me down temporarily because maybe I would then get less done in a time span of, let's say, 1 week. But if I measure my productivity over a year or multiple years, then just because I wouldn't get sick, overall, I would be more productive and my longevity would be increased and probably my focus would be increased as well. So actually, I would get more done. And I want to do more regular Patreon videos, which I think is pretty important for me because later I want to go into more controversial subjects and topics as well. And having people that support me would also be a clear signal that people actually want to hear from me and it matters what I say to them, to a point that they are willing to support me. And that, I think, in the long term is quite important if I want to go into controversial subjects and there's a threat of being canceled. I want to improve video editing and production quality for this channel, so that's just more entertaining and more interesting to watch. And I also want to have an editor so that by the time I finish recording the video, it's pretty much done and ready to upload. I also want to seriously explore becoming a SpaceX and Twitter /X investor. That I'm actually very seriously looking into that right now, and I had a call about that as well. So I know exactly how to invest into SpaceX now, but I have still no clue if investing in Twitter is possible. I'm not sure about that one yet. This one is actually one of my biggest goals for 2024. I exercised at home regularly throughout most of 2023, but I want to take it a lot more seriously now, so I will go to the gym 3 times a week is what I'm planning. And I want to also document my progress, gain some muscle. I would personally be really happy with me weighing about 75 kilograms, so gaining roughly about 5 kilograms of muscle, so that's about 10 pounds roughly. Might be a bit ambitious here, so that's a bit of a stretch goal maybe, but at the same time, I don't really know what I'm talking about here. But my biggest hurdle really has been eating enough to gain weight. That has been my biggest hurdle, trying to gain muscle, but I feel like I have figured this one out. I have found certain foods that I can eat where I think I can gain weight now. But it's still a bit challenging, but it's not like, oh, this is completely impossible. And I want to be an example for my younger brothers and for my children later. I don't have any yet. And I think being in good shape is an important part of that. So I want to be an example, a good example. And over the last few years, I actually feel like I made some decent progress in this regard without being all that serious about it. I used to weigh 139 pounds roughly, so 63 kilograms. Now I weigh about 70 kilograms, so 154 pounds. I don't feel anymore like I am underweight, whereas before I was like, I'm too frail, this is not cool. Now, to gain muscle, I need to eat more protein. One problem with that is I have more breakouts. I have more acne when I do that, so I'm looking into a few things that can reduce that. And one of the things I'm looking at is blue light therapy masks. You put that on for about 3 minutes, let's say in the morning, and supposedly it reduces your acne by something like 75 or 80%. So I'm definitely going to test that out. Next is to teach my younger brothers all I know about money. They are 14 years old currently. They are twins, by the way. And they have been asking me a lot, how do we make money? How do we get rich? So I want to pass on everything I know about that to them. And that's going to be not exactly an easy task. Now, I'm also thinking maybe I should share that with everyone. But some of the things are a bit harsh. So I'm not sure if it's perfectly fine to share everything publicly. I think many of the things I could share publicly, no problem. But there are a few things that are a bit controversial, but still so very important. So maybe I could do some small event. I'm not sure. This is just an idea right now. My main thing here is that I need to teach my brothers everything I know. So that's my main goal. So I don't want to get anything in the way there. I'm thinking, oh, can I say that or not? Yeah. I'll see. Anyway, I'm just thinking about that. If you guys would like to learn everything I know about money, let me know. Personally, I feel very confident that I could take just about anyone who lives in the Western world who's not incredibly dumb, and I could take that person and have them basically learn how to make $20,000 to $100,000 a month. I'm not saying it's easy. It's certainly, to some degree, certainly difficult, but I think it's very, very, very doable for many people. Now, this one is a bit of a curveball, but I have thought quite a bit about this actually, because later I want to dive into controversial subjects. I don't want to be canceled. I would prefer not to. But just because, but I will still say things later, even if I think they would get me canceled, I will still say them. because that's just how I am. I don't do well with if I think there's someone's lying, yeah, I'm gonna call them out. But one solution that I have thought of, which would minimize the chances of me later being canceled, and I'm not talking about diving into controversial subjects like right now. I'm talking maybe years from now, or maybe much sooner. I'm not really sure about that one yet. But when a comedian talks about something really sensitive, I don't think they really get. Some of them still get a big backlash, but it's not as serious because many people understand, oh, that was a joke. Or even if they said it in a more serious way, it's like, oh, well, he's a comedian, so wasn't he joking? Or then the comedian can say, oh, look, I'm a comedian and this is just a joke. Just a joke. What I'm thinking is, I'm not necessarily saying that I will become a comedian, but what I will do is I want to have another channel which would be entertainment focused. So I'm going to call it Wow with Matt. I actually already created the channel, and I'm going to be uploading the first few videos over the next few days probably, or the next 1 or 2 weeks. You may click on the link down below to subscribe if you like to. Now this one I'm not necessarily fixated on, so I may do it, I may not do it. But I'm thinking about, I think there are multiple different audiences that are interested in Tesla related content. There are some people that are really interested in the daily news. Then there are some people that want to know the most important news and they don't necessarily need to know that immediately. They just want the most interesting video. So I might start another channel covering all of the news, but let's say it would be just 2 videos per week or just 1 video per week, but very well put together, well produced. If you ever saw a video from Ryan Shaw, it would be maybe more similar to that. And maybe occasionally I would add some more subjects or topics, not just Tesla, some deep dives into other relevant topics as well. Another thing that is quite interesting to me, I get asked by young boys about Andrew Tate, and some of them have certain ideas when they watch him. I think they don't realize when he's being serious and when he's being not serious at all, when he's exaggerating. And I think I want to do a deep dive into Andrew Tate and maybe do a series of videos. If I do a series of videos, it's going to be on a completely new, different channel probably. So that if I'm asked about Andrew Tate again, I can just tell them, hey, you can go watch this channel, because I know these young boys are going to watch him anyway. So if, let's say, my younger brothers want to watch him, they are 14, I would much rather prefer that they watch him with my commentary so that they understand, okay, this part here, ignore that, but here is okay. This one is a bit more personal, but I think as a man, it helps if you do look presentable. Having good, nice teeth, I think helps with that. So I'm going to work on that in 2024. And a few random things. I'm also extremely interested in geopolitics and history. I'm so interested in that. I remember when I was maybe 7, I went into a bookstore with my mom and grandma. We were in downtown, and my grandma asked, what do I want for my birthday? And I was like, I want an encyclopedia or a history book. And we went to a bookstore, and I picked this really nice encyclopedia, which also had a lot of illustrations with human history, and I read that book multiple times. I was so fascinated. Ever since then, I was hooked. So sometime later on, you might see me dive into geopolitics as well. I'm more interested in geopolitics than politics, because I think geopolitics is more, it's basically how countries interact with each other. So I think that's a bit more important. And history fascinates me a lot. One more thing, which this is a really random goal, I'm not promising that I'm going to do this or anything like that, but I am quite interested in stand-up, and I like Joe Rogan a lot. I listen to him a lot, and I sort of like what he has accomplished and what he has done. I do want to work on myself in terms of becoming a bit more entertaining, and I think having a few stand-up bits, or maybe even eventually having a full stand-up special, would maybe just maybe help with that. That's more of a personal thing that I would want to do, not necessarily to do with business as much. But I do have some stories from when I started some of my businesses. For example, I'll tell you one which I would definitely have in a stand-up bit. I was once hiring people, and we put up an ad. This was in the Baltic states. And we found this applicant. We were looking at the email, and we were like, okay, everything looks good. It checks out. And we called that person. It was already maybe 5:30 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. It wasn't really late. It was still appropriate to call, but it wasn't really business hours anymore. We call, and we say that it's important for you to speak English. We ask, can we do this call of 2 minutes, let's say, in English? And she says, after 5:30, I do not speak in English anymore. All right. I have many stories like that, so I would like to put them all together and maybe share them in a stand-up special or something like that. This is not a goal for 2024. This is something that I would maybe want to do sometime eventually in my life. Leave your goals and your New Year's resolutions down below. I will read through probably every single comment, so leave your comments below. But perhaps the most important thing that I want to do in 2024 for me personally is teaching my younger brothers everything I know about money. Currently, the way I have it set up, I teach them a lesson roughly once every week, but I feel that is not the most effective approach because it's a bit maybe time consuming. But if I put everything together and then I covered everything in, let's say, 1 or 2 days, then it's like, oh, I'm done. And now if you ask me a question, I can tell you, go listen to the lesson number 259 in this 2-day lecture. Another thing I find is teaching helps me make my ideas and concepts a little bit better, which also helps me improve and make progress faster. So there's a bit of selfish motivation there. But really, family for me is extremely important. So I would do anything for my family. And I think passing on the knowledge, I think, is crucial. And I am the wealthiest person that they know, so I feel that is my duty to, it is my duty to teach them. That's it for this video. Subscribe to that new channel, Wow with Matt, where I will probably, at first I will compile some of the funniest, entertaining videos I found on the internet. So if you like to just chill, relax, and have some fun watching some funny videos together with me, click on the link down below in the description or the pinned comment and subscribe to that channel. And leave your comments down below with your goals and your New Year's resolutions. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.